Hi everyone, it's me, B Kelly Sunflower. So I thought I'd hop on and show you one of my recent Lenormand decks that I received recently, and it's called The Cute Little Lenormand by Sara Lyons. So I do have the indie deck as well that comes with a pack of cards and separate guidebook. So the one that I want to talk about today is the mass-produced one. And it comes with a book and the cards which are attached to the book, but I've put my cards in a separate pull-out bag because it's a bit fiddly like that. So let's have a look at the book first before I go through to the cards. So it's got here, Cute Little Lenormand, Easy Intuitive Fortune Telling with 36 Cards, Lenormand Deck by Sara Lyons. And it's got here, includes cards in the deck. It's a hardback book, and then it kind of goes through all of the Lenormand cards here and gives you an upright, well actually Lenormand doesn't read reverse meanings, but it gives you some keywords for each of the 36 cards. And it's got here, published in the United States by St. Martin's Essentials, an imprint of St. Martin's Publishing Group. And it was this particular edition was published in 2020. And it's got here, the Library of Congress catalogue in publication data is available upon request. And it's got here, a previous edition of this book was first published in 2018, which I think might be the indie version. Now, this particular book is 199 pages, whereas the original indie book is only, you see, 137 pages. So the mass-produced deck book, as you can see, in comparison, is a lot thicker. So they've put a lot more things into this new book. Okay, so let's go through the book. So in the contents page, it gives you an introduction. It talks a bit about Lenormand, getting to know your cards, the card meanings, vignettes and tablets, the grand tableau, conclusions, resources, journal pages, and acknowledgements. So I'll read you a bit about from the introduction. It's got here, hi, welcome to the Cute Little Lenormand. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Sara Lyons, and I'm an artist, illustrator, and Lenormand enthusiast. I started my own journey with these magical little cards several years ago and fell in love immediately. I've always loved the not-so-secret language of the symbols and glyphs, from the hieroglyphics to emojis. So the Lenormand and its 36 straightforward archetypes instantly appeal to me. A clover, a coffin, a heart, a snake, a ring. We instinctively understand what these things mean. I began learning Lenormand using the traditional 1800 replica deck, and while there was something appealing about the old-fashioned, almost stiffy European card illustrations with their fancy lords and lady, I knew right away that designing my own version of the Lenormand was in the cards for me. What started as a passionate project became the Cute Little Lenormand deck, and now you're holding it in your hands. This little guidebook was written with my deck in mind, but what follows can apply to any 36-card Lenormand deck if you've already been working with these cards for a while. I hope my guide will help you get the most out of your readings. And if this is your first introduction to Lenormand, yay. I'm so excited to welcome you into the world of the petty jewel and honoured that you have chosen Cute Little Lenormand to begin your guide. In the following pages, I share lots of information about the Lenormand history, card meanings, and techniques for reading spreads both small and large. Much of what I've written here is the result of years of study, reading and research. Much of it is channeled from my own feelings and experiences creating and working with these cards, using them in my personal spiritual practice, and putting thousands of cute little Lenormand decks and counting into the hands of passionate readers. I've spent hundreds of hours with the cards, and I like to think I'm pretty well versed in their history and meaning. However, Lenormand has been around for a lot longer than I have. There are many opinions and interpretations out there, and mine may not always line up with everyone else's. So proceed with an open mind and know that while all this information has been heavily and lovingly researched and practiced, that this is also far from the definitive guide to learning the Lenormand. There's always more to discover. To that end, I've included of references at the end of the book that I think are worth checking out. Thank you for joining me on this journey, Sarah. So this here is a bit about the Lenormand history. And then she's got things in red, like, for example, here, it says here, side note, Lenormand is not like tarot. One of the most common misconceptions I run into about the Lenormand is that it is a type of tarot. I understand why they might seem interchangeable at first glance, or why it might seem like you need to know one to understand the other, but they aren't, and they don't. I love the tarot and the Lenormand both, but they are different decks with different reading methods. In particular, lots of tarot spreads, like the Celtic Cross, for example, aren't really designed for traditional narrative Lenormand readings. And you can't really just read one card in the Lenormand the way you can do it with tarot. Even some of the cards in the tarot, major arcana, that seem to match up with the Lenormand don't actually share the same meaning. So ultimately, while lots of tarot readers do also work with Lenormand and vice versa, you don't need to know anything at all about tarot to be a great Lenormand reader. But it gives you a bit more about Lenormand and tarot there. Then she talks about getting to know your cards and gives you some tips. So some tips that she gives, which is written in red. She says here, sit down with your deck and go through the cards one by one without consulting the guidebook. Consider what each card involves to you and take a guess as to what one might mean. If you want, you can think of a couple of keywords for each card and write them down. I've included some journaling pages in the back of this book. See page 182 for a chart that you can fill out with your intuitive guesses. And then it's got here, when you compare your answers with the traditional meaning described in the following pages, you probably won't be surprised how many are dead on. So that's a bit about how to read them intuitively. And then she's giving you a glossary here. And then it's got here a Mumfish of Lenormand. And she's giving you some information there. So I'll read a bit about this for you. The Petite Jewel Lenormand, with its manageable 36 cards, lends itself well to in-depth daily study. After all, if you focus on a card a day, you can get through the whole deck in just a few weeks. With that in mind, consider committing yourself to a deck worth of a daily practice. In just a month, you have a super well-rounded understanding of every single card. Working in order, assign a Lenormand card to each day if you want to make this month-long challenge. You can get started on the first day of the month and pick a card or two each week to focus on 2 cards, just instead of just one. Or you can just shoot for a 36-day streak and start any time. No matter which way you choose to approach this exercise, it helps to physically write down each card on your calendar or in your planner so it stays at the forefront of your mind. Each day, pull a 3 or 9 card spread using the card of the day as your significator. Try to spend some time with your tableau each day and consider potential interpretations for every angle. In this exercise, the significator should always be the central focus of your reading. The idea is to get to know how to understand each card as a significator in context with as many other cards as possible. Every combination should connect to the main card in the question. If you like, you can use the questions for each card included at the end of each of the card descriptions as prompts for this exercise. And then it gives you a bit about the card readings. So, for example now, the rider here, it's got here, aka the Cavalier. It's got here 9 of Hearts, Planet Mercury, Zodiac Aquarius, Gemini, feelings, anticipation, pacing fast. Key themes: unexpected news, a message or visitor. The rider is bringing you something. Overview: it makes sense that the rider is the first card in Lenormand because it has an inherent feeling of urgency, forward movement, or getting started on a new journey. We're off to the races now, and there's no stopping this pony. Simply put, this card is a high bringer of a chance, an instigator. If you've been waiting for a sign or a message, you can count on this card to deliver it. The rider message might come through word of mouth, or it could be in the form of written communication, like an email or text, or even something as seamlessly inconsequential as a match on a timber. Often the rider represents a person. Sometimes it signifies a visitor from afar, or an unexpected meeting with someone new. In traditional Lenormand readings, the rider is often a new suitor, but it could also present as a new friend, mentor, or moose. The next card is the Clover, and she gives you some keywords, an overview, and she also gives you how to do a reading with the Clover. So she's put the colour over in the middle of the spread, a significator card, and she gives you the opportunity to do a reading like that. Then, you know, the ship, the house. So each of the cards, she does that, and in some of the cards she includes some spreads. And then I find that the things that are written in red are her advice to you, or her suggestions to you. This is a really kind of like well laid out book. So here she talks about the playing card associations, because most Lenormands have playing card associations. So it says here, what's up with the corner of the cards? You've probably already noticed when going through your deck that each card has a teeny traditional playing card illustration in the upper right hand corner. These are called the corner of the cards, or insert cards. They're the poker cards that are associated with each card in the Petit Duel. They're listed in the card descriptions too. Most traditional Lenormand decks include these, through many newer decks don't. And then it kind of gives you a table of what all the playing card associations mean, which is really good. It talks about vignettes and tableaus. That's kind of like readings. I mean, it's got here reading reversals. In the tarot reading, reading reversals, interpreting cards that are dealt upside down in a different, usually more negative light, is common practice. Lenormand, of course, isn't really the same. Most readers just turn any reverse card the right way up as they're dealt. The cute little Lenormand deck's back patterns has a gradient from blue at the top to pink at the bottom, so you can even get all the cards turned the right way as you're shuffling the deck if you want. Some Lenormand readers do read reversals or use other methods to explore darker interpretations of the cards. Hey, maybe this is where these corner cards can come into play, but most prefer to keep it simple. Like Alexandre Mersac says in The Art of Lenormand Reading, the 36 cards have enough information and stories to tell. You don't need another layer of 36 cards that will come with adding reversals. And then it's got here 2 card reading combinations and stuff. 3 card reading combinations. She gives you some advice there. This is a 9-card spread of a 9-card tableau. I like to use this spread. I even like to use it with tarot cards as well sometimes. And she gives you a mock reading and how to interpret that reading. And, you know, a bit more about reading the Lenormand. I mean, this is the Grand Tableau, which is when you use all 36 cards. and she gives you a table there and just information on how to read a grand tableau and what direction to read the cards in, and so on and so forth. She gives you a picture there, and she talks about the houses and the messages. So this looks like a real informative book. And at the back of the book, she gives you some notes where you can do some journaling yourself as you're learning the Lenormand, or if you want to heighten your knowledge. This is some journal pages at the back. And then I'll just give you a bit about the author. Sara M. Lyons is an artist, illustrator, muralist and designer. Cute Little Lenormand is a brand new, updated and expanded edition of her original Cute Little Lenormand deck, originally self-published in 2016. Sara lives in Southern California with her husband Josh and their ever-expanding collection of books, records, toys and magical objects. So this is the mass-produced book. Let's have a look at the cards. So what I've done is I've put my cards into a spare bag because I just felt that this thing here was a bit awkward to put the cards in and out, and plus the card can only go double-sided. It was just a bit awkward for me, so I've put it in a spare bag. So there are 36 cards. I'm just going to compare it in size to the original indie deck. So, as mentioned in the guidebook, if the cards are blue, that means it's upright, and if the cards are pink, that means it's reversed. So, as Sarah said, when you're packing your cards and you want them upright, just look at the backs and put them all up on the blue side. So the indie deck has got the same sort of shading at the back. But if you look at the card size, can you see that the mass-produced deck is slightly bigger? But I would say that these are playing card size. They're not tarot size. If I compare this card to my Lorna Soul tarot deck, you can see, which is the size of a Rider-Waite Sniff deck, you can see the difference. So they are kind of like playing card size. Okay, so let's just flip through these cards with you. So you've got the rider, and then you've got the playing card association in each cards. They're very cute, very kitschy. The clover, the ship, the house, the tree, the clouds. See, I like my cards to have light and dark in there. I think these cards these ones are a bit darker here, but it's not obvious. The snake. But I must say these are very clear cards. Sometimes you get Lenormand cards that are quite busy, and it's difficult to see the archetype. But this one, you know, you can see this is clearly a coffin. You can see this is clearly a bouquet, and that's how I like my Lenormand decks to be. The scythe, the whip, the birds, and the birds are in pairs, which I like as well. The child, the fox, it's a red fox, the bear, the star. So you've got two big stars and many little stars around. I don't know if it's clear on the camera. The stork, the dog, the tower, the garden, just very clear cards. The mountain, the ways. This is also, sometimes the way is also called the path or the crossroads in some Lenormand decks. The mice, the heart, just a nice clear heart. The ring, again a nice clear ring. The book, the letter. Now, the querent card in most traditional decks is the man, and in the original deck, in the indie deck, card 28 was called the gentleman. So that's a change. and that's good, you know, to keep up with modern times. And then the partner, card 29, is usually the lady, and in her indie deck it was actually the lady. The lily, the sun, the moon, the key, the fish, I like the fish being in the fish bowl, the anchor, and the cross. So these are really, really cute. See how these cards shuffle? They shuffle really, really good. Quite smooth. I'm an overhand shuffler, I don't bridge, but I'm sure because they're quite thin, or thinnish, I think a riffer shuffler would also find them quite appealing. I'll probably use this on my Instagram challenge soon. So if you want to see how these cards look like in a Lenormand spread, feel free to go to my Instagram page. I will link it in the description bar. I will also add links to the mass-produced deck, and if I can find the indie deck, I will add links to that too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.